The technology needs to just disappear, and the story is everything. My name's Alex Counsell, and I am Technical Director for the Centre of Creative Immersive XR at the University of Portsmouth. My role is to run the centre, run the technical team, and look at our kind of strategy moving forwards with our hardware and our work and what we do. CCIXR sits in the middle of the faculty, the creative faculty. We're in the Faculty of Creative and Cultural Industries, hence the title of the centre, to fit in with that. We sit slap bang in the middle of the faculty, facilitating all the courses. So we work with students in undergraduate and postgraduate courses from fields from visual effects and computer games through to graphic design, illustration, fashion, architecture. We are there to introduce new technology to the curriculum and the students and get them thinking in new ways with new technology. We also support research and innovation that comes from academic staff and external companies that want to work with us. And we also offer commercial service work in volumetric capture, motion capture, scanning, digital twinning, and also virtual production. Well, I'd been in contact with Toby Coffey from the National Theatre where Inside originated through our work with the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Audiences of the Future projects way back in kind of 2020, 21. And then the conversation started about Sasha's piece Inside and her ambition to use a combination of volumetric capture and motion capture movement. And we were the only place in the UK that had a volumetric system and a motion capture system under the same roof. So it made perfect sense to come to us and do the whole production shoot with us, being able to flexibly move between the spaces and capture content as required. Well, absolutely. It really did push my brain because we were relatively new to volumetric capture at that point. So some of the requests coming through were very much thinking on my feet on how we were going to approach the shots, because there was an awful lot of layout, because there was going to be seamless moments in the piece where we knew we were going to have to take motion capture movement and seamlessly transition into volcap and vice versa. So there was a lot of spatial planning that needed to be done on stage in the volcap studio and on stage in mocap. And there was an awful lot of spatial coordination in contact points, people picking up objects and touching virtual bits of set that we had to map out in the volumetric stage, which I'd never done before, you know, for prop work, camera alignment, because we knew we were going to have to cut certain things out, and there was an awful lot. Some of the scenes were very crowded with lots of objects that we had to be, you know, had to really think about camera line and being able to where those masks were going to work to get that line up right, so it was the least amount of work possible. Costume. What sort of costume are we shooting? You know, the beauty of 1950s is there's lots of lovely patterns. So we knew that we were going to get, because they wanted the cloth movement, so it was avoid plain white, plain black. We want to get that lovely detail in the cloth. So there's a lot of to-in and fro-in in those pre-production meetings to make sure hair was going to be right, no wispy hair, had to be sculpted. We had to make sure that the costume was going to be right. And there were some shots that I basically just said, I can't guarantee that's going to work, but let's shoot them and see.
And did they work?
Yeah, to most part, yes. I think some of them were really challenging shots with sort of small objects like cookies and green beans and things like that. We had 4 days to get all the content shot. So it wasn't a case of like, oh, let's just take some time and think about this. It was like, we've got to shoot it. We might have had 1 or 2 takes. It's in the can, and now we've got to deal with it. So yeah, it was flying by the seat of our pants. I want them to get the emotion, because there was a lot of emotion in the performances. You know, the young people in the cast, and you know the generations that were in the cast. You know, and it's seeing their story come out and making sure people understand that. I'm very close to the technical aspect. I cannot watch it without my technical eye pulling it apart and going, oh, that bit and this bit. Oh, I remember recording that. I remember that bit. I can't quite ever let go of that technical aspect. But then seeing the other people that don't see the glitches or see anything that we would pick out and go, oh, did you see that bit? They don't see it. they just see the story, they see the emotion, and they get that journey. And that's the most important part, to know that all that effort we put in translates through to that end story. And to see Sasha, you know, over the moon with the responses, that's the whole point. That's why we do this stuff. The technology needs to just disappear, and the story is everything. I don't think there is a common usage. I think we're finding more and more from them. You know, we've had martial artists in there with nunchucks and bow staffs. We shot Benjamin Zephaniah in February 2023 for a project, and unfortunately he passed away in August 2023. So now we have some really poignant posthumous data there that's, you know, we're holding on to it preciously, and we're working with the estate to think about how we can use that data outside the piece it was shot for. We've used it for sort of sports analysis. We've used it for fashion. You know, the ability to capture cloth movement, I think is the standout bonus for it. Because, you know, for garments, you know, we'd have to normally simulate that. We'd have to create a digital twin of that garment, simulate it, load all of that data in, and if it's the right sort of fabric with the right sort of movement, all of that fabric movement is there for free and it works. So we get a lot of positive response from fashion. Our fashion students use it every single year to shoot their collections and put a reel together, which we take to graduate fashion weeks, and nobody else has got anything like that to show. So a really wide range of usage, and that's what I love about it. It's so flexible. Green. I'm being facetious. I think it's just people think that anything can work in volumetric. Because they see the capability of the technology, they just assume that anything they bring in, can I capture this mirror ball? You know, those things. And it can be just sometimes the technology can fall over itself by, you know, we push the boundaries with it all the time and show huge potential with it. So therefore then people just think, oh, it's easy, it can do anything. And then you have to kind of just give them that real world kind of sanity check that it's not everything. But we're willing to try anything. We just can't guarantee that everything will work. As it gets more capable, I think it's just more exciting. It frees you up as a creative. It gives you more potential to do things with it. You're not always hitting that kind of glass ceiling with the technical limitations. As the technology gets better, that just opens up more doors to more projects that might have more ambitious ideas. The technology is always becoming more capable, and that's what excites me about it, is the fact that, you know, maybe the project that couldn't happen 2 years ago can happen now with advances in kind of AI and, you know, vision processing, everything like that. It's always moving forward. If you're always trying to be at that cutting edge, you're always in the pain point. It's always the way it's going to be, but it's that wave behind in the wake where the real innovation happens, because it's just a given now. We can do that, and it enables so many more projects to kind of pick up and embrace that technology.